Hello, hello, GH Daily Recap fans. I tell you now, today's episode, which is June the 8th, 2022, much better. I have more things to talk about. I actually had some surprises today. I was like, wait, what? And I'll tell you about that as soon as we get to it. But, it kind of started off with um, Dex, that's Sonny's new guy, talking to Sonny reaming him the riot act for going to Michael's because Brando tipped Sonny off. And sure enough, Dex was over there at Michael's. And Dante, well, first he tipped Dante off. He and Dante go over to find out what's going on. Why are you here, Sonny's new guy? So he leaves Dex. And then Brando goes with him because he goes, I'm going to make sure my Uncle Sonny knows you were here. So Dante's then talking to Michael and making a lot of sense because the level that Michael is going to ruin Sonny's organization, it's obvious. And it's funny, Dante being a cop, knowing the guy that Dante got fired was on the take at the docks for Sonny and just, hey, status quo. Look, it's harmless. Yes, he's working for our father, turning a blind eye to something. And by the way, can any one of you comment? I've asked this before, I think. What is Sonny's business? We know he's not into guns because when Lorenzo Alcazar came to, oh my God, no guns in Port Charles. We know he's not into drugs because he's gotten rid of a ton of drug lords. Now, another thing we know is not just coffee that he imports. So what actually is it? Is it art? I mean, what is it? Because it's really not gambling, even though he has a whole island for the gambling. But I don't know. That's interesting. They never really said what Sonny's business is. But that was an interesting scene, and it made sense when Dante said, well, really, what kind of man are you going to try to show Wiley to be? Because you are acting just like our father. He really is. And Michael has always been devious that way. And I'm going to get back to Michael a little bit later because the what is coming up. Now, also, I really liked Cody and Britt. We could tell something is going to go on between them. But to me, Cody is not a stand-up enough guy for Britt. She deserves something better than what he seems to be. He seems to be a conner, con artist, a grifter, and she doesn't need that in her life. She needs somebody more stable. I don't know who it would be because I couldn't see her with let me see. Can't even think of his name now. That's telling you how I can't even remember who or think about who Britt really fits with. I can't. But definitely, I don't know. I'm not liking Cody's vibe. I would rather see Britt with Spinelli. I'd rather see her with him, even though he's quirky, but I don't know. Sasha, it is touching, that she really has not dealt with the grief of her child. It takes time. And she just, I'm okay, I'm fine. And even though she's telling Gladys, I went to rehab, I know what drugs do. She was taking drugs just a few weeks ago. She has been taking them to cope with the death of her child. So for her to pretend like I would not do that, yes, you would. She's in withdrawal right now, fidgety, because she wants some more drugs. And Gladys sees it. You got to either love Gladys or you got to hate Gladys. But if it's one thing's for sure, I think she truly loves Sasha. She actually really likes and loves Sasha. And the funny thing is, when you think about daughter-in-laws, Sasha is probably the only daughter-in-law that could put up with Gladys. because Gladys is an absolute positive piece of work. But one thing that I have to comment on, the shoes that she took out of the box were for what? A 8-year-old, 10-year-old? Who buys shoes that big and you're pregnant? Nobody. They make miniature baby versions of almost every shoe out there because they know us new parents, or those new parents, or we, when we were all new parents, oh, we'll spend the money. So I know I don't have to buy a pair of shoes because they look cute for a 10-year-old. That I was like, oh my goodness, they could have come up with a better shoe. But anyway, that was just beside the point, and kind of interesting to me. So now, what I really liked was the scene between Gladys and Sasha at the end. Gladys swooped in there ninja style to knock that bottle of pills out of Sasha's hand. She did everything but a flip over the couch to get to Sasha to make sure she doesn't take pills, you know, which I like that, Gladys, because, you know, bottom line, we don't know what's in that bottle. Sasha is not above hiding real drugs in a legitimate over-the-counter bottle, but I can already tell, since they all hit the ground, Brando's going to walk in. Those are going to be, remember, when Sasha went to the hospital, they gave her a over-the-counter non-addictive prescription, and that is probably what Sasha was taking at that time. So back to the Sonny Riemann out decks. You know, don't you ever go near my family. That's my family. It's off limits. You're here to do what I tell you to do, which is in Sonny's fashion, because he doesn't want his family hurt, which is why he knows who's doing this. He knows who's behind it. Wu was asking him all kind of questions because she's like, look, I'm ready to get my organization into action to find out who's doing this so we could put a stop to it. And Sonny's like, I got it under control. And, you know, she's like, well, who is it? And he's like, I said I got it under control, because he knows he couldn't tolerate her going after Michael. So that's just an interesting dilemma going with this. You know, it's gonna not end well. It really isn't. And then Michael's going to regret what he's done. He's gonna realize that, I think I went too far. But this is the wow. When Dex meets Michael in an alley, I thought, here he goes again. He just does not listen. But then when he calls Michael boss, I was like, oh my goodness, Michael, he is so cunning. This is a side we haven't seen from him in years, because guess what? Does anybody remember? This was years ago, probably 10 or more, when Sonny was going through a major bipolar spiral down episode. And or it was when Sonny got shot and was in that wheelchair, one of the two. There was a reason, but Michael stepped in to the role as running the Corinthos organization. And boy, was he a good mob boss. He knows how to command, control, respect. He had Jason by his side, and there was no stopping Michael, which is why when Sonny was in Nixon Falls and Carly stepped up, even though I loved the way Laura Cartwright played a mob boss, she was great in that position. I really liked her. And I kind of think Selena Wu liked the fact that she had another woman sitting at the table making the decisions that needed to be made. You know, she had Cyrus Renault's mother kidnapped. Yikes. You know, kind of turned out a little shaky, but guess what? Bold move. Cyrus boat, she had Brit blow it up in the ocean. I mean, Carly does a very, very good job of that world and keeping the business going, whatever business it is, whatever type that is. They all know, but won't say, but Michael is the best. So now that we know Michael is the one who pays Dex, and he had Dex pretty much infiltrate Sonny's organization, Sonny is not gonna see that coming. But you want to know who will? Brando. Brando's gonna somehow Brando's gonna figure that out. And is anybody other than me see that Brando is eventually going to work for Sonny? He's going to. He cannot help protecting his uncle. He's built for it. And the longer Steve Burton is gone and they are keeping the character of Jason in limbo, once a decision's made that Jason's not coming back, Brando will be the right-hand man. He has the skill set. So I actually want him to, because by then Sasha would have spiraled out of control. I don't really know where their storyline is going, Sasha and Brando, but you know what? He's good at it. He loves his Uncle Sonny and he'll protect him. So, this was an episode that I truly, truly enjoyed. I as you can kind of see it, sometimes when it's blah, it's like, what can we talk about? But this was a really good episode. So what I want to do is I want to ask you, what was your, oh my goodness, scene today? What did you like about today's episode, which is Wednesday, June the 8th? What did you like? What didn't you like about the episode? Who was your favorite characters? What was your favorite scene? I really want to hear from you. I had a great recap fan, just like me, write a comment that she really feels, or they really feels, because I really couldn't tell, but the writer really feels, or the commenter, that General Hospital should have more true hospital storylines. Back in the day, you rarely got out of General Hospital. But that was a long, long time ago, because we did start to go into other people's storylines and their houses. And then when they made Port Charles's Night Shift, now, if anybody watched Night Shift and remembered Night Shift stayed in the hospital because it centered around all the doctors that were working the night shift. And then the spinoff Port Charles definitely did not really deal with General Hospital. There were very few scenes in Port Charles that were at the hospital. It was about Port Charles, but we dealt with the whole vampire situation going on with Caleb and Liv, and it was, I liked them though. They were the best couple. But on General Hospital, you notice for a hot second, they put, when they had him as the character of Silas, they put Silas and Sam together for a hot minute, just a hot minute, for us who remembered them in Port Charles, from Port Charles. And the spark wasn't there, but boy, was it there way back in the day. So anyway, look, write your comments. I would love to even get some flashback in there. What do you remember? What's flashback that you remember? If you remember when Michael took over the business, give me a comment on that. And also, please like the video, give them a thumbs up. Please give this one a thumbs up, and any other one that you see, click the subscribe button. So this way you're a subscriber. Ring that notification bell so that you get notified every time I do a GH Daily Recap, because I tell you, I know us General Hospital fans, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot that's on our mind. And that's what I want this to be about. A place where we can kind of talk about the show, have some fun with General Hospital. So I will be back for Thursday, June the 9th episode really, really soon.